Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. A quick in the news edition today. We're looking at COMET 67p. Now, this has been in the newspapers again because one or two scientists are claiming that it may harbinger or have microorganisms beneath the surface. Now, this is not a new theory. Scientists have been saying this about comets for decades and decades now, that they may even spread viruses and may even spread the origins of life to formerly uninhabited planets by landing on them or flying very close to them. Now, this is the, I mean, I've got this up in a couple of stories here. I've got the Mail Online, which has got some rather strange pictures of heads in jars at the top here. Yeah, typical. But this one here in the Guardian I thought was a little bit less gratuitous, and I'll put links to all these in the description, so you don't have to look these up. You can just click on the links below, and it'll take you straight to these, so you can read this stuff. I'm not going to read it all out because they all say much the same thing. Like with a lot of these stories, one paper would do it, and they all just copy and paste it and just have slightly different pictures. So basically, the guy who is making these claims is quite well known. He's if you watch Discovery Channel or anything like that, I think he's even been on Ancient Aliens. This guy, here he is. Professor Chandra Wickramasinghe believes 67p and other comets like it could provide homes for living microbes similar to extremophiles that inhabit the most inhospitable regions of the Earth. Now, these extremophiles have been found inside nuclear reactors and can survive incredibly high temperatures and pressures. So he's I think this guy's pretty cool, and unlike a lot of scientists, he actually puts himself out on a limb a bit, or he sticks his neck out a bit, which I like. He's seen as a bit of a maverick, but actually, when it comes to space exploration, I really do think that you need to be a bit of a maverick, and you need to really push the boundaries forward, because there's a lot of people out there who were trying to drag those boundaries back the other way, and they were trying to send us backwards. The only way to move forward is to push these boundaries forward, and you need a very open mind when it comes to space exploration. And the thing is to never rule anything out, because we're still pretty new to this, and you've got to have an open mind, because anything could be out there. We really don't know. You've got to be open to anything, and if you're not open-minded, you may miss something, and you may cause the death of your crew or even your whole planet. So this is the way forward, guys. This guy, I think, is pretty cool, and it sort of has some nice pictures here, mock-up pictures, some of them, and I'll just read this bit out from the Guardian, because this was just a bit easier to read out. And Wickramasinghe said, 500 years ago, it was a struggle to have people accept that the Earth was not the centre of the universe. After that revolution, our thinking has remained Earth-centred in relation to life and biology. It's deeply ingrained into our scientific culture, and it will take a lot of evidence to kick it over. Very well, yeah, I can't agree more. That's awesome. Professor Wickramasinghe's views are regarded as several steps outside the scientific mainstream. Yeah, no kidding. He has previously suggested that the SARS virus arrived to Earth from space, and that airborne spores that cause rainfall in Kerala, I should say, to turn a reddish hue, had an extraterrestrial origin. You can look this up. There's a thing called Red Rain, I think it was. It was in all the press a couple of years back now, and I think one or two things ended up on YouTube as well. He and colleague Dr. Max Wallace from the University of Cardiff, which is actually not far from where I live, believes 67p and other comets like it could provide homes for living microbes similar to the extremophiles that inhabit the most inhospitable regions of the Earth. Right, okay. So basically, they're saying there may well be microbes just below the surface of the comet, and why shouldn't there be? I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say. Just because the guy is seen as a bit of a maverick, people are now trying to queue up to say that he's wrong already without even doing any research, which is typical of the scientific community. You get scientists who are not even in that field of study who then lay the boot in. And see, not all the stories have been that positive about this guy. I mean, they're all a bit critical, but some of them are a lot more critical of him and sort of take the mick out of him a bit, you know. So, as usual, when anyone sort of mentions life on another planetary body in our solar system or near our solar system, they get slated. And whether this is the press encouraging it or whether it's the actual scientific fraternity that are doing it, I'm not sure. I think it's probably both. I really do think the press have got a lot to do with this. They are determined to stir up as much crap as they can when it comes to this sort of thing and make a big story out of it. And the more they get people to argue about it, the more of a story there is for them to print. So I really do think they encourage a lot of this stuff. But I mean, was there or is there life on this comet? Well, I actually think there was intelligent life, and may still be some hovering around it or above it. Now, some of you have probably seen some of this stuff, but I'm just going to quickly show you some of the things that have been found on the comet in the last 6 months or so. Now, this is from the September the 10th image, which is the famous one. And if you want to find this tower, you need to look right here. So you've got the lower big lump here, and the tower, you can almost make it out from this level of zoom just there, okay? And if you looked directly above that and then to the right slightly, we have the disk that's hovering above the surface. And if you go above that again, up to here somewhere, straight above, there's a UFO, a boomerang shaped UFO up here as well, which you will not see yet. But I'll let that play through a little bit and it will go in closer. Now, is this the source of the radio signal that was picked up about 20 years ago, before they decided to go and look at this thing? It could well be. There are lots of strange structures on this wannabe comet, and there's one here which looks like a building with upright parts to it here. Now, I didn't highlight it in this. I should have done. I should have highlighted that as well. But there's the tower. Now you can clearly see that. Let's go full screen. There we go. You can clearly see that that is not a natural formation. All I've done is tilt it to the left here, so it looks more upright. It's clearly not a natural formation. It doesn't get extremely clear, but basically you can see that it has like a part up to the top. It almost looks like a lighthouse, or if you know a pencil with a rubber on the end. It has a separate part to it at the top. If you understand what I'm trying to say, and it doesn't really get much clearer. That's the raw image there. Nothing's been done to that whatsoever. You can see it's raw. No enhancements done. And when the enhancement comes up, let's go smaller screen again, because it actually looks slightly clearer, smaller, as a lot of these things do. Okay, here come the enhancements. Just use an effect there to show it. Right, there's the enhanced image. All I've done is brighten it quite a lot there, play with the contrast, and you can actually see that part on top is a separate structure. So it's like a lighthouse where it has a kind of dome on top or something, you know. I mean, I thought that was really cool. I think one or two other people may have published this, I'm not sure. So there was that, but there is also in this video, it also shows the UFOs as well, which you've probably already seen. Here's the infamous disk, which is definitely above the surface because it's got a shadow just below. You can see a gap between it and the shadow. So that's actually hovering off the ground probably about 50 feet or something, or less. And the disc itself is about the size of a car. It's quite big, possibly bigger actually. It's very deceptive when you're looking at these things because you don't really know what the level of zoom is. But there, it doesn't get any clearer than that. It's just a disc, a very reflective disc object hovering above the surface, and it's probably an alien probe, and was probably attracted to the comet in the same way that we were by the signal that comes from it. And I do pontificate in this video. This is called COMET 67p radio tower and UFOs, this one. And here's the boomerang UFO. Now this may be an image artifact or part of the comet that's kind of flown off, but there's another one here. There are lots of little bits in these in the surrounding area of the comet, and this is from the ejecta coming from the comet, and this may be little bits of ice and crap that's just been kind of blown out of the comet for some reason. But this one was perfectly symmetrical, and I thought it was interesting. And I'm not really sure how big this is. This could be 100 foot across, it could be 50 feet across, it could be only 5 foot across. It's impossible to say how far away it is, so it's impossible to say how big it is. So there we go. Don't really know with that. And here's the raw image a bit closer. It does look very symmetrical and looks like a boomerang. Now, perhaps this is the ship, if it is a ship, or UFO, whatever you want to call it. If it is an alien ship, which it may well not be, this could be the source of that little disc that's on the surface, hovering above the surface there, and maybe doing a survey, just like we are. You know, we have our satellite there above the surface, and we have our little drone sort of robot on the surface. So that would kind of make sense. And you know, if this signal's been going as long as it has, it may have been going for more than, I mean, we picked it up about 20 odd years ago, I think, 22 years ago or something, and then they decided to send a mission there to investigate, and it took them a long time to get there, obviously, but I do actually think it's an intelligent signal, and I don't think it's just a random sound that's created from the gases escaping from the comet, like many stories and articles have suggested. I actually think it's coming from this guy here. It looks like a radio tower, communications tower. What else could it? Well, it doesn't look natural. Whatever you think it is, it does not look like a rock. Rocks do not do that naturally. It's far too symmetrical and perfectly straight, with a little round structure on top. So there we go. There was that, and there is the what else do we have here? Now this is probably a case of pareidolia on my part. I was looking at the comet and found what looks like a skull, and now this is probably just a very large rock that just happens to look like a skull from the angle we're seeing it because of the light, the way the light's catching it. But who knows? I don't rule anything out. I thought it was interesting anyway, so I published it. People haven't really taken to it much. COMET 67p alien skull. You can check this out on my COMET 67p anomalies playlist, or just go to my my videos page and scroll down. You'll see it. Now, but what this does demonstrate is that there's a lot of things on the surface here, which other people have mentioned. Now, this planetary body is supposed to have almost zero gravity because it's only a few miles across. It's about 4.2 kilometers or something from end to end, so it's not huge. So the amount of gravity this thing has must be very limited. I don't know it exactly. I haven't looked it up recently, so I can't tell you off the top of my head. But there's a lot of these rocks, quite large, some of these, the size of houses these are, and they're just hanging off the edge of it. And what's holding them in place? There's also sand dunes that have been found, and some of these rocks are hanging off at a very, vertically, kind of hanging down, and they look like loose rocks on the surface. So there must, as the Thunderbolt project have mentioned, the comet must be statically charged and holding things down due to static energy, not just gravity, because there isn't enough gravity to do it. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, this is the skull. Now this, like I said, it may just be a rock that just happens to look like an alien skull. But they did, the European Space Agency did name it, and they named it Cheops for some reason, which I thought was interesting. So this actually has a name. It's called Cheops. And this is the size of a house. This is big. So that gives you an idea. It's the size of a sort of semi-detached house in the UK. So it's 20-30 foot high, 40 foot maybe, and about the same wide. It's big. It's pretty big. Okay, so here we go. And you can find links to these images underneath all these videos. So here he is. Now that just may be a rock, of course, but it does seem to have 2 eye sockets, a nose and a mouth. But it's probably just a rock. You never know with these things. They're quite ambiguous, and this is taken from quite close up. This was taken, I think, from about 8.7 kilometers from the surface. So this is the closest flyby, as it says here, on the 14th of February 2015, close flyby. So I just reversed it a little bit there. Who knows what that is? It's probably just a rock that happens to look a bit like a skull. So there we go. There was that. But and there was this one, which has had a lot of views. This is the alien building found on Rosetta COMET 67p, and I'm not suggesting it's a monastery. The video is called The Monastery as the subtitle, but I'm not actually saying that. I only called it that to give you an idea of the scale of this thing. This is big, it's a large building. This is much bigger than your house. This is more like the town hall sort of size, you know. This is pretty large, and when we get to zoom in, we'll see it. There are lots of semi-looking intelligent structures up there. So most of them probably aren't. Most of them are natural. There is some quite long sort of what look like collapsed obelisks in certain areas, but they're so covered in crap that it's impossible to say really. Like this one here, if I pause it just here, this looks like an obelisk that's fallen over, or part of a structure, but it's very straight. Ignore this bit in front and this bit behind here. I'm just talking about this bit here. Who knows? That could be natural, but there are lots of these things lying around on the surface, so there may well have been buildings all over this thing. They could have been built millions and millions of years ago. Don't know, but I'm guessing they may well have been built by the same culture that built things on our moon millions of years ago. And they may well be the same people that we see in the statues on Mars, the same gods, so-called gods. They may have colonized the whole, not necessarily universe, but our part of it. They may have colonized the whole lot. We don't know. Now, where to look on this one is up here. You have to turn this around. It will give you directions anyway, this video. It'll actually show you, there we go, where to look. So you need to turn the image round. Here it's still the same way round here. Here it is there. There we go. And as it rotates, you will see, there we go, coming up here. Pause it. Now turn it to negative. There it is, just here. And what I didn't point out clearly in this video, which I should have done, is there's another apex looking structure here, and what looks like part of the same building behind it here. So this is kind of like the front part, and this is the side that's all broken, and this is the back wall by the looks of it. Who's to say which way round it was? You don't know where the front or the back is, but as we get closer you will see what I mean. It has an apex like structure here and here, and these are upright walls here. This is an upright wall, and it even looks a bit like it's got a little window, like a remains of a window there. And this is a very straight upright structure here, which looks like part of the same building. So this may have been a massive tower or block or something, don't know, impossible to say, but whatever it is, this is only the very remains of it. This is just the bottom section that's left, and the rest is all collapsed and not in good shape. But when you get closer, it doesn't get a lot sharper, because obviously this is taken from eight or so kilometers away, and I think the camera on the on this mission satellite was, I think, it was 5 megapixels, so we're told, which is really high res compared to the Curiosity rover, but it's taking stuff from much further away, so they still look pretty cartoonish, these photographs, especially when you zoom in. But there we go. I mean, when you flip it to negative, it just looks like a farmhouse, which is ridiculous. absolutely insane. I've been heavily criticised for publishing this, but probably because I used the word monastery, but I only use that to get the idea of scale across. I'm not saying it is a monastery. People take things far too literally, and I usually have question marks in my titles, and which usually means I'm not entirely sure it's that, and I'm just hinting at what it might be because I can't be sure. But look how straight this is here. This is a building structure at the back here, and was probably linked to this. It's on the same plane, and was probably a squarish or rectangular building here, and this may have been quite large and tall. Who knows? This may be where the signal's coming from. Who knows? There could be something inside this building. Who knows? We have no idea. You've really got to keep an open mind with these things on other planetary bodies in our solar system and elsewhere, because we're still young to this. You've got to look forward. And you know, I get slated a lot by trolls. I get heavily trolled on my channel, and I know a lot of you guys out there do as well on your space channels and stuff. And I really do think a lot of these trolls are just deliberately trying to scupper us because we're close to the bone, and a lot of people can't cope with the fact that there may be alien life out there. We all know there is. We just haven't yet had one piece of evidence that can prove it beyond reasonable doubt. But we do have thousands of individual small pieces of evidence and things like this that do, as far as I'm concerned, prove that there was or is alien life out there. And these things are probably still active, some of them. They may be millions of years old, but some of them may not be that old. We really don't know. So there we go. I thought I'd just do a quick in the news and a quick refresh on the comet. Now keep out if you're over in here, and if you're over here in the UK, do keep an eye out on Channel 5, because I will be appearing on a programme in about 2 weeks time, I think, on Channel 5, which will be called Rosetta Secrets, the Rosetta Secrets. This is a full-length documentary, and I was invited to London to talk about it, the comet, and also Mars. I did quite a long stint on the Mars situation and the Curiosity Rover photographs. So keep an eye open for that. I'm hoping to get a trailer for the program, which I can put on my channel. But I really don't think they're going to let me show the whole program, because obviously I don't have the rights to it. But I may well be able to get a trailer and stick it up for you guys to see. But who knows? Someone out there might end up putting it on YouTube anyway, and I'll find out if they do. Okay, guys. So look out for that. It's called the Rosetta Secrets, and it will be on Channel 5, probably early evening, about 7 o'clock in about 2 weeks' time. I don't know the exact date yet. I will keep you all posted on that and let you know. Okay? Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you soon.